Hey friends, welcome back to Unheard Stories. Today's episode, an incredible topic awaits. What statistically improbable thing happened to you? Story 1. Got attacked by a robin in the morning, then attacked by a hawk 3 hours later. Weird day. Story 2. My husband and I visited our old hometown and went to a used bookstore we used to frequent. I picked up a familiar title in nostalgia and flipped it open to find a school student's ID card. The name and photo on the ID? My husband. Turns out his mom had donated books to that store many years before we all moved away from that area. He must have been using it as a bookmark and forgotten. It's not so surprising considering we used to live in that area, but the ID was nearly 10 years old by the time we found it. That book was sitting on the shelf for nearly a decade untouched, waiting for me to come along and pick it up. Bizarre. Story 3. After losing an AirPod while skiing, I was able to find it the next run. I lost an earring diving in a deep mountain creek. I paddled in the water over where it fell out, and I shouted, "Watch this!" to my girlfriend and dove down 10 to the bottom and blindly grabbed a bunch of tiny river rocks in my fist and swam to the surface and held my fist high triumphantly. I swam to the bank with my girlfriend and opened my hand, and it was there with the river rocks. Story 4. Not me, but a friend. He was a merchant mariner, lived here in Virginia Beach. He was always calling and texting, posting pictures from around the world. One time he'd been out a while, and we knew he was heading to Dubai, but didn't know where he'd be after that. 4 months go by, and nobody's heard from him. His neighbor, who I was friends with, got married and went to Thailand for his honeymoon. He texted me one day and said, "You aren't going to believe me." He said he asked a local where a good local spot to eat was that tourists wouldn't be. The guy takes him 30 minutes from the beach to some dive bar restaurant with no sign and no clearly marked entrance. He said it looked so shady he was afraid he was about to be robbed. He goes in, and it's a legitimate restaurant. He eats, drinks, and goes to the bathroom. Out walks my friend, so he took a pic and sent it to me to confirm he's okay. Imagine taking a flight several thousands of miles away, getting away from the tourist areas, going into a local dive bar, and running into your next-door neighbor you haven't seen in months. So wild. Story 5. I received my heart transplant after being on the list for only 7 hours. Story 6. Riding my bicycle on a commercial fishing pier as a kid, I lost control and rode off the edge with a 20 drop to exposed rocks at low tide. I tried to stop myself from going over by planting my feet on the edge of the pier, but I knew my bike was too heavy. Somehow the bike stopped, halfway over at a 45-degree angle. However, now the seat was in the small of my back, preventing me from getting off, and I couldn't budge it at all to get the bike back up. A fisherman finally ran over to help me, and we decided he would pull me as hard as he could and I'd let the bike fall. I jumped to the side as he pulled me back to the pier, and it worked. However, my bike was still there, not moving at all. When I examined what had happened, there was a piece of rebar sticking out from the edge of the pier, bent upwards in an L shape, and it passed diagonally through the spokes of my front tire and completely wedged my bike in place. It was the only spot on the 300-long pier with anything sticking out. I most certainly did not stop myself and my bike from going over. Story 7. I was on a road trip with my cousins in the 80s. One of them kept playing the same song over and over by rewinding the tape and playing it again. The song was "Another One Bites the Dust." After 3 plays in a row, the driver pulls out the tape, says enough, and turned on the radio. Sure enough, that song was playing on the radio right then. Back when I was in middle school, I had my phone ringtone set to the chorus of "Have You Ever Seen the Rain" by CCR. My dad drove me to my friend's house to pick him up, and I called him to let him know we were close. The classic rock radio station was playing "Have You Ever Seen the Rain" on the radio. My friend called back, and my phone and the radio were perfectly in sync to the same song. Would never have known it was ringing if it didn't also vibrate and light up. Story 8. Many years ago, I had a terrible day when my then-girlfriend broke up with me. Then I did terribly in a final exam for a college class. Then I lost my wallet. And finally, as I was doing the Charlie Brown sad walk back home, some random branch broke off a tree as I was walking on the sidewalk underneath it, and the thing fell on top of me and hit me square across the shoulder and knocked me to the ground. I just burst out laughing because it was so ridiculous. This triggered an old memory from my uni days. I woke up one morning and a series of small things went wrong. Think spills, broken dishes, burned clothes while ironing, corrupted assignment file on my laptop, that sort of thing, one after the other, all morning. As I was leaving my hall of residence to head to my first class, I tripped and fell on the stairs. That was the last straw. I turned around, went back to my room, got back into bed, and stayed there for the rest of that bad luck day. Story 9. I saw an ad on a Pepsi case at a grocery store for a text-to-win contest to see Beyoncé in concert. I figured why not, and sent a text and was entered. A few weeks later, I got a text back from the same number that told me I won the grand prize. I ended up winning 2 tickets to Beyoncé's Mrs. Carter World Tour in Brooklyn and $500 on a Visa gift card. Used the $500 for some bus tickets and a hotel down the street from Barclays. The seats were awesome, and it is something I'll never forget. Story 10. My friend was going to Ireland to visit her extended family for the first time and invited me along. We had a great time meeting her aunts and uncles, seeing the beautiful sights, etc. On our last night in Ireland, the family all got together for dinner, some rousing laughs, and a generally awesome time. Her cousin had been traveling that week and was only in town for one night, so she and her boyfriend swung by to say hi and bye. They left for the airport in New York City, and we went to sleep, getting up at 4 a.m. to catch our own flight to New York City. 2 days later, I had to be in New York City for a job interview. I wasn't familiar with the Wall St. area, so I went extra early just in case I couldn't find it. But as luck would have it, I found it with no problem and had 40 minutes to spend. I had no idea what to do. Considered getting food but didn't want to risk staining my clothes or having an upset stomach or anything. So I wandered around a little until I stumbled on the Barnes & Noble bookstore. Thinking this was perfect, I went in and walked slowly through the store looking for somewhere to sit. There weren't any sort of private spaces on the first floor, so I found the escalator and started heading up. As I approached the halfway mark, I see a young couple going down the escalator. As our eyes met, we recognized each other, and at the exact same time, as we both met halfway up the escalator, we pointed to each other and turned as we passed each other, mouths open in shock. My friend's cousin and her boyfriend. 2 nights ago I had met them for the first time, and we had been laughing and sharing food and wine in her aunt's house in Ireland. And now here we are, crossing paths exactly halfway on the escalator. A moment sooner or later, and we would have completely missed each other. She quickly came back up the escalator and we chatted about how crazy this coincidence was. I nailed the job interview too because I just felt this surge of right time, right placeness that meant I was supposed to be there. I was so full of confidence and optimism. I made the whole panel of interviewers laugh and talk comfortably with me and got the job. Story 11. I once met a guy who had been born on the same day as me at the same hospital, and we both had similar birth names. His name was the first 4 of my name. We also weighed the same, and we found out later that we were born within minutes. If I was 12:02, he was 12 o'clock type close, of each other. Also, we were both born 6 weeks early. Same color eyes and hair. Our moms worked at the same Walmart, and that's how we met. We lost contact a year or so after his mom quit. Sometimes I remember that kid, and wonder how that happened and how we met. I do not know the stats on any of that, but it's got to be pretty low. Story 12. Yesterday we went to Woodman's grocery store where we hid into a family that are friends. Okay, not that improbable. But then we went to Aldi's. I wanted something only they sell, but that is the second grocery store. Hid into the same family, weird. Afterward we went to Lowe's, and now I am getting a little freaked out. But the same family was there also shopping. This is all in the course of 4 hours in the northwest Chicago area, so it's a big area. Not some small rural town. Story 13. In 2006 I bought a travel guide to Costa Rica from a used bookstore to prepare for an upcoming trip. Inside the book was a copy of a shipping receipt from someone who'd ordered the book online a few years earlier. I did a double take when I saw the shipping address on the receipt. The previous owner of the book had lived not only at my address, but in my specific apartment, and presumably also took a vacation to Costa Rica, because that's usually why people buy travel guides. Story 14. My twin sister and I hit the same answer to rock, paper, scissors 14 times in a row. My husband thought we were faked. Gotta love the power of twins. My husband and I did this at Disneyland, much to the amazement and frustration of a cast member at Tomorrowland. We hit the same thing, and it wasn't like we both hit rock the entire time. When we switched it up, it was both of us hitting scissors or paper, and we did it 12 times in a row. Finally, I beat him. Thank you for watching till the end, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.